Hi.
Good morning, one and all. Welcome to the International Plastic Bag Free Day commemoration.
All right, I think we can get going. Good morning to one and all. First of all, thank you for taking the time out on a Saturday morning. Uh, I know, as I was saying before, if I was not hosting this, probably I wouldn't be here either. So thank you so much for taking the time out on the Saturday morning and attending this, the first in the series of virtual meetups in the containers and storage domain, containers and storage inside out. Quick announcements, please keep your mics on mute if you're not speaking. And if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand or use the chat window to ask a question. And we will be taking the questions at the end of every session. Please pay attention to all these sessions. We have some surprise gifts to be given away, and we will be doing that during the sessions, and we'll ask questions about the sessions. So yes, pay attention, you win prizes. Simple as that. Well, with that, and to set the context, without further ado, let me bring on your screen Mr. Sanil Kumar D, one of the organizers of this meetup and the chief architect, member of the TOC Architecture Work Group, lead at Soda Foundation and Huawei Technologies India. Over to you, Sanil.
Hello, you're able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, actually, I was keep sending message to Anvit saying that, yeah, a few more minutes, let's wait for some more people. But it's okay. Yeah, let's get started. Okay. So usually you have a vote of thanks at the end. Let's start with thanks note in the beginning itself. First of all, as Anvit mentioned, thank you all for joining. And it looks like an interesting topic to take up. And very exciting response. In last 2 weeks, even just our meetup group got 1,000+ members just because of container storage, probably. Thanks. And thanks to all the speakers today. Even we have international speakers. Yusuf is joining from Turkey. And Amit, Akhil, Kiran, Joseph, Sushant. Thanks to all of you to join and taking off your time, almost a half day on a Saturday for us. And thanks to all the organizers, especially CNCF Bangalore and the Soda India meetup organizers. It's a collaborative meetup between these two meetup groups. So you may be joined through maybe CF Bangalore meetup group or Soda India meetup group. Yeah, we are on today. It's a collaborative meetup. And thanks to Kristu Jayanti College for supporting. Especially on, I think there are a lot of students joining today. Container storage is much talked about these days. It's a very hot topic, especially in data and storage space. So what we are thinking is that the participants will be of different background. There are students, there are professionals, and I mean it's a different group of people. So we are thinking that we will do a container storage series of talks, technical talks, like 101, starting up from intro. So if you are interested in some specific areas of container storage or related topics, you can just leave comments in our meetup group so that we will consider when we find or fine-tune the agenda, prepare the agenda for the next session. So we are planning to have a series. So today we will start with some kind of an intro and some kind of what is happening, what are the key trends, some high-level trends, and some demos. Hope you'll enjoy and have a nice time. Thanks. Over to you, Anvit.
I just checked. I'm not on mute, so I can speak now. Okay. Thank you so much, Sanil, for setting the context on that. And yes, since we have a mixed group of people, it's always good to see students as well join these meetups, because I believe when we were studying, we didn't have such exposure to technology directly from, yes, hello, hi.
Yes.
Hi. Yes, your mic was on. if you were checking if your mic is working. Yes, it's working, whoever it was. But as I was saying, it's good to see that you guys are joining such events, and this is definitely going to be helping you out with your knowledge base as well. With that in mind, the first session of the day is all about introduction to containers and CSI. So, not all of us over here are very aware about containers and storage, including myself. Like, I'm pretty new to containers myself. So I'm pretty sure you're thinking, what are containers? Are they big boxes? Are they small boxes? What is storage? Is it hard drives, pen drives? No, no, no. We've got a lot of other things to do as well. So what we're going to be doing now is that we're going to talk about the introduction to containers, a 101 talk. And we have with us here today Sushant Kumar, who is the Sora project manager and also architect at Huawei Technologies. He's going to be speaking on introduction to containers. Please put your hands together and put your screens. Sushant Kumar. A request to everybody who's not speaking, kindly mute your mics. Please ensure your mics are muted. If you're not speaking, ensure your mics are muted. Right.
Hello, Anvit?
Yes, Sushant, we can hear you. You want to?
Can I share?
Yes, please. Let me just stop sharing.
Yeah.
Kumar.
Hello?
Yes.
Visible, Anvit?
Yes, Sushant. Yes, please.
Yeah, okay, all right. So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining on a Saturday morning. So, like Sil mentioned, the topic we are talking is it's a very vast topic. So, maybe it will span across several meetups. So, this is just the start of it. So, this session we have planned so that we can provide some basic introduction about containers, container storage, some specifications, so that it can set a context for this meetup as well as some forthcoming meetups. So let's get started. So when we talk about containers, if you look back to the journey of the containers, okay, so containers are, we can tell, like they're the latecomers to this. So age old, from years we had physical machines wherein we have hardware, on top of that certain operating system and drivers are running, and we are running different application on top of the physical machine. So this used to be our way of doing the things. So this was fine, and later point of time people thought like maybe we are not efficiently utilizing the resources. Maybe one machine is too much to do some small things. So people thought like, why not get the best out of this machine, and instead of having one machine, why not uh, um, divide this into a different set of machines wherein we have same hardware, then on top of same hardware and the same host operating system, we can have different operating systems packed with the applications, so that this machine can be best utilized, all its resources can be best utilized. So that is when people came up with the idea of virtual machines, wherein on top of a hardware and the host operating system, the multiple machines can be spawned with their own operating system. So with the help of some software, or what we call as a hypervisors, they will help to facilitate the creation or management of these virtual machines. So this was the era of virtual machine. Then whenever virtual machines were good and running, so the another thing that came into mind is people thought like even one virtual machine is too big to do certain kind of operations. So we can still split it into more modular or more smaller units. That is when this concept of containers came. So wherein on same shared hardware and given operating system, so applications can be packed in. So application, when we tell application, so the application means the code packaged with its dependencies. So that's all is required for that application to run. So Container is nothing but abstraction at application layer, where we package code and dependencies uh, and run them. So that is the basic definition of container. They are lightweight, sharing the OS kernel and packaged with the code and its dependencies, and that's all. So for the containers, two key technologies involved are, one is Linux C groups. So this is a kernel feature, so wherein which helps us to group the processes. So multiple processes can be grouped, and certain kind of limitations can be put on the resource allocation, and they can be nested as well. That means they can be hierarchical. One C group can be on top of another C group. So another concept that is involved here is a namespace, which are used to provide a restricted view to the kernel. So this is also a kernel feature. So similar to C groups, even we can have a nested namespaces. So combining these two features, wherein we have a restricted view of a kernel for different things, and as well as we can group and limit the resource allocation. So using these two features, the container technology, these two becomes a base for the container technology. So as we have seen from the virtual machine, physical machine, to the virtual machine, to the containers, if you see, if you come to the benefit of containers, as we have mentioned here, we only have application and binaries put together. So by virtue of this, it gives us a lot of advantages. One is image size is small. It doesn't contain anything that is not needed. And by virtue of image size being small, a startup will be very fast. And they are efficient in the sense we can run more number of applications on top of given system compared to virtual machines. And they are portable in the sense once you have built them, they can be taken anywhere. They can be taken to private cloud, public cloud, on premise, and they are expected to have the same behavior. And they are also scalable in the sense based on your necessity, you can increase the number of instances of that applications, or you can bring it down whenever they are not needed or the demand goes down. Consistency, like I mentioned, since they are built with their dependencies and code, so we don't expect some abnormal behavior or some surprises when they are expected to behave consistently across the systems. Loose coupling in the sense the application and operating system, this coupling is removed so that we focus only on the application. And last but not the least, timing. And the rise of containers happened exactly at the time when people were thinking more about the agile or the distributed kind of developments, wherein the responsibility can be split, and one thing can be made to one system is made to do, or one application is made to work in one way or to perform one particular operation. So this timing was also perfect for the containers. They became complementary to the need of agile development or the distributed development. Some just listed, it may not contain all, but some of the major container types. So Docker is the most popular one, and we might see people interchangeably using Dockers as containers. And apart from Docker, we also have other things like Rocket, OCI, Containerd, Kata containers. So these are all other major containers types which are available in the market. And this list keep going with the day. And coming back to the most popular or well-known container platform, Docker. So this is a platform, this is kind of a complete, it's a platform which takes all aspects of Docker, from building, distributing, running containers. And it's an open source it's a open, this components are open sourced, and it is written in a Go language. And apart from open source, they also have the enterprise commercial product with some more additional features. And something more about Docker. So when we talk about writing application, a containerized application, so in case of Docker, it involves writing a Docker file, which is nothing but we are putting together all the requirements or all the specification for the application to run as a container. Then Docker provides a mechanism to build that and make them as an image. So this image is nothing but it contains code and dependencies, and it can be pushed to the Docker hub, which is the registry, and it can be placed, and this can be used by anyone who with the permission. So these images can be downloaded as and when it is required, and we can run them. So this complete life cycle involves, from the developer side, if you think, it will be about building your code, making it as an image and pushing somewhere. And from the running perspective, this image can be given by different system. Maybe it is a production environment, or it may be for a testing. And it also provides various mechanisms like tagging, wherein we can provide different kind of images for testing or production, so that this becomes more modular and agile. So Docker is very helpful in that, for maintaining the complete life cycle of a container. And as we have seen, like when we go to the container technology, maybe a bigger application will be split into multiple smaller applications. So when we land there, some of the obvious problems or the features which we expect about managing these containers, how do we schedule them, and how do we manage the life cycle of these containers, how do we build a communication. Hello, Anvit?
Yes,
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 yes.
Sushant. Yes,
Go
go on.
ahead.
Yes, we are able to
Yeah,
hear.
audible, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
So container or so when we mentioned, like we split a particular application into many smaller applications. So we have a lot of applications in hand which are running as a container. So this poses us with some obvious challenges or some requirements, such as communication between those containers, managing the life cycle of those containers, and bringing these containers on the fly, scaling up, scaling down. So these are some of the obvious requirements if we think about this container-based technology. So there are some. So this means that there is a need of some orchestration here. So there are a lot of container orchestration engines, or the container orchestrators, what we call, which helps us in solving these problems. So
Did we lost Sushant connection, or Sushant, you're there?
No, I
Yeah,
think
looks like we lost Sushant.
let's just give him a minute. Probably his internet may have disconnected.
hello,
Yeah, yeah.
hello.
Yes,
Yes,
Sushant.
Ashish.
Sushant,
Yes, Sushant.
I think
Go ahead.
Sushant joined back. Yeah,
I'm
Sushant. Yes.
sorry. Okay. So I was talking about the container
Sushant,
Sushant, your
orchestration
You need to
engine.
share the
So
you need to share the
screen
screen.
again.
I shared, not shared. Wait.
You need to share again.
Yeah, yeah.
Sushant, if there is some issue, maybe we can share the screen, and you can speak about that. Sushant, you're there? I think Sushant connection again. We lost Sushant.
I think Sushant, the network has some issues.
Yeah, right.
Probably, yes.
So should we, 1 second, let me see the slides.
Yeah, so maybe.
We are at container orchestration, then we are at Kubernetes architecture. I think Sushant is on the slides right now, so probably he's going. Sushant, are you back?
Yeah, Anvit, can I share?
I think
Yeah,
Sajid is saying the same.
no, maybe you can share. It's okay.
Yeah, I have few slides left. I will share.
Sushant, just a suggestion, if there is some network issue, you can switch off your video and just
Video, yeah.
present.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, I
present.
think that's okay. Okay, okay. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So we have we have different container orchestration systems out there. Kubernetes, which is well heard of, and apart from that, we have Mesos, Docker Swarm, Rancher. So these are the platforms or the framework which will help us in the container orchestration aspect. And just a brief view about the Kubernetes, as it is a famous container orchestration platform. So this is a basic workflow or the block the architecture of a Kubernetes, wherein we have a master node and we have several worker nodes. We will help us in getting the work done. And Kubernetes has a components for scheduling and management of the containers spread across both master and the worker nodes. So these together, these components spanned across masters and workers, and they communicate together to make sure the overall life cycle of the containers. And they use the distributed key value store etcd for the communication. And now we have seen the containers and container orchestration systems. Now, as we see, the different requirement that arises for the applications will be the network or the compute or the storage. So these are the key requirement that arises for the workload management. So one among them, as I mentioned, is storage. So when it comes to storage requirement for the containers, so we have lot of Kubernetes, we have lot of container orchestration systems, and we also have a lot of storage providers. So there is a need for a common interface between these two, so that the applications need not take care of applications need not bother about which operating system they are running on or which storage vendors they are getting provisioned from. So containers storage interface is an specification which helps us to, which is an initiative to unify the storage interface for container orchestration combined with the storage vendors. So once this means that if you implement a single uh, driver which is based on this specification, so it is guaranteed to work with all container orchestrations. So the storage vendors can develop once their driver based on this specification, and it can work with all the orchestrations who are following this container storage specifications. So containers, when we talk about container storage specifications, it mainly involves some provisioning aspects and as well as utilizing those provisioned storages. So when we talk when we talk about container storage interface, so some things that come into picture as a part of this specification is one is about the drivers which implement these container storage specifications. So they need to be registered or they need to be made known to the container orchestration system. Okay, and another aspects will be provisioning, and other aspects will be like whatever is provisioned they can be attached, and some features like whatever storage provision can be snapshot or it can be resized. So these are the different provisioning requirement and which are taken care in this specification. So what happens in this case is, as a driver, we need to implement, as a driver whom we call as a CSI compliant driver or CSI driver, we will be implementing certain interfaces. And so whenever our driver is installed, the COs will, or the container orchestration platforms will invoke our drivers, and our functionality will remain same, that is about provisioning. And so to do this, one of the in case of Kubernetes, the Kubernetes already makes the life easy for the CSI driver developers, in the sense like, so they make some ready-made utilities, or the sidecars, what we call. So in case of Kubernetes, they already have the sidecars running as a container images, so which any CSI driver can take. So that green box in the middle shows the certain sidecar containers drive. It contains certain sidecar containers, and in addition to that, there are other things like snapshotter or the resizer. So first one is about the registering our drivers, and second one is external provisioner, which is about provisioning. Third one is about attaching. So these sidecar containers helps us to communicate between the COs and down to the CSI drivers. So it has a clear specification about the interfaces, what need to be implemented by the CSI drivers. So based on the support of our storage vendor, the corresponding CSI drivers implement those interfaces, and some things which are not supported will be left as unsupported. And there are a lot of CSI drivers which are already available, which are written and production ready. So this is just to name few, and it's a very vast list which we can find at the link given. So all these storage drivers will be compliant with the CSI, and they implement the interfaces and provide their own business logic or their mechanism of storage provisioning. So this is about the container storage, their container storage specification, and the drivers which are already uh, available in the system. So that's all I got in this basic session. So over to Anvit.
Hey, thanks, Sushant, for that very quick introduction to containers and CSI. I believe the logical steps is hardware to virtual machines, to containers, container orchestration, and then where do you keep all that data and put it into storage. So that was how we've come to CSI right now. One point that I would like to bring out towards the end is, in this list of CSI drivers, you'll also find the Soda CSI driver. And that is something which we will be demoing today after a couple of sessions. So make sure you check out this list and check out the search for Soda. You'll find the Soda CSI driver as well.
Yeah, definitely. And this list goes in the alphabetic order, so S comes after several pages.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thanks once again. And if you have any questions, we have a couple of minutes. You can post your questions in the chat window.
Anvit, there are some questions I haven't already added there.
Yeah. So I see a couple of questions. This is how do you define a Docker container CPU architecture, whether it's x86 or ARM, the requirement? And Amit has shared a document which is basically the multi-architecture. Do you have any additional information on that, Sushant? Like, can you specify the architecture for a Docker container, the CPU architecture? Okay, I think there's one question, more relevant question. I believe the link will have the information, but I see, when would we require a CSI driver? Is it only used when we have more than one orchestrator? I think that's a good question, Sushant.
So it is not about having the one, or there is nothing like one or more. It is about when we write a CSI driver, so we can be assured that any container orchestration system who are using us as the storage provisioner can work seamlessly. So the reason for we going for, or any well-known storage vendors going for CSI driver is this: like once they write this driver, irrespective of the orchestration system, anyone can use it. So their code or their feature need not be dependent on any specific container orchestrations.
Okay, one more question. I think that will be the last question of the session is, I wanted to know whether the same storage volume can be mounted on multiple pods. Can you help me with the details of how this can be achieved?
Yes, actually, there are different way when we specify like how this volume should be treated or the mounted. It should be shared between the pods or not. So based on the specification, maybe I can share the specification there, how we can specify this in the YAMLs. So based on that, based on our need, the volume provisioning and its usage can be done.
And with respect to details, Girish, what we'll do is we will be getting back with the questions and some of the answers and some relevant links in the Meetup group itself. So you can just follow the Meetup group, the discussion section. And also, I think as an email, we'll share some of the questions so that everybody gets to know what was discussed and also the detailed answers. I think we have one last question that I'll just close the questions after that. Tripura Sundari Arvind wants to know, is CSI relevant for storage hardware developers or vendors or someone else as well?
It is relevant in the sense, since it's a specification, we can always tell like it is relevant for the two sides, right? The side on top of it and side or side who is requesting or asking for it or utilizing for it, and the side one and the one who is providing it. So it is relevant for both the sides to know like how I can utilize or how I can supply. So if you are a provider, so you will be more worried or more bothered about how I can expose all my provisioning intelligence at the CS side, south side. So if you are an orchestrator, you will be more worried from or you are more bothered from the north side, from the consuming side.
All right. I think that's about it for the questions. Thank you again. Thank you once again, Sushant. I think as a 101 in 20 minutes, I pretty much covered a lot of information. If you have any further questions, please do share it with us, and we will be taking them up post session. Thank you once again. With that, you know what? Let's get right into the gift section of it, because I know many of you would like to see, hey, what's the swag? What do we win today? So this is going to be a simple Q&A. Okay, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you need to give me the right answer. The first right answer in the chat, will get something interesting. Do you want me to announce what is the prize, or do you want it to be a surprise? Sunny, what do you think I should do?
Surprise.
Okay. Yeah, you got the answer.
Surprise. Okay, so see, surprises can be scary. So you don't know what you're going to get. It could be a prize, it could be something else. But anyway, let me make it a surprise. But here's the first question. It's a very simple one. And this will require you to do some advanced Googling. You'll have to use searching algorithms and use the address bar on your browser and tell me right away, what is the member count on the Soda Foundation India Meetup group right now? The first
You are asking them to open the link, is it?
Yes. I'm seeing a lot of wrong answers. I'm saying right now. Let's see how many of you have fastest finger first. We are playing fastest finger first here. And winner chicken dinner. We have a winner, and that is Adarsh. Adarsh gets it bang on. The number is 1021. Thank you for all your wrong answers, everybody. But you tried to play it safe by saying 1001. That was what I announced at the start of the session. Mustafa, can you please mute your mic? Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Please mute your mics if you're not speaking. Yeah, and the winner is Adarsh. Adarsh, can you share your email address only in chat directly with me or with Ashit? I see some more right answers towards the end. All 1021s are correct. Maybe it changed now, but at the time when I asked at that moment, it was 1021. Well, if you're on that page and you're not subscribed to the meetup, please do so right now. But that is
so that they can change the number and win.
yes. Well, this is not for a prize anymore, but Adarsh, congratulations. Already subscribed? What is the surprise? Okay, I see questions. What is the surprise? What is the surprise? Surprise! You get to be a member of the Soda Foundation Meetup group. No, I'm not that. I'm not going to leave you hanging, Adarsh. So congratulations, Adarsh. You won yourself Amazon voucher worth rupees 500. Is that good enough for a surprise? Yeah, Adarsh, thanks. Adarsh, can you just message your email address to Ashit Kumar in the chat, direct message to Ashit, and we will be sharing that voucher with you. So yeah, whoa, Kshitij, exactly. So pay attention. Okay, this one's not for a prize, but we have this meetup is in collaboration with the Bangalore CNCF meetup group. What's the member count there right now? And you know, I said it's not a prize winner, but who knows? I may surprise you also. So what's the member count on the Bangalore CNCF meetup group? Let's see. See, nobody is going for the answer now when I said there's no prize. Anmol Bansal, congratulations, 3570. That is absolutely right. That is the Bangalore CNCF group. That's one of the biggest Kubernetes and CNCF based. It's the official CNCF meetup group for Bangalore. So please do make sure, if you're not a member, join that meetup group as well. And I think it's time now for us to move to the next session. I'll have some more questions. I'll be coming to them post the sessions we have. It's time now to listen to some of the industry experts in terms of containers, container storage, and technologies in storage. And we are going to be having a panel discussion on the trends of container storage. On the panel today, we have with us Sanil Kumar from the Soda team. Is Kiran with us here right now? Kiran, have you joined?
Yeah,
Hey, Anvit, I'm on.
Hey, hi, Kiran. Kiran is the chief architect from MyData. We also have with us the numero uno dataneer, that is the founder of Dataneers, Amit Chaurasia with us. Hello, Amit.
Hi, Amit. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. And we also have with us Yusuf Yildiz, solutions architect from Linbit. Hello, Yusuf.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Amit.
And moderating the panel today, hey, Sanjay says hi. And moderating the panel today is Ashit Kumar, the architect and maintainer of the Soda project. Hello, Ashit.
Hey, hi, everyone. Hi. Okay, so there is a surprise. So, Anvit, you are giving some surprises. So
yes.
there is a surprise.
We are also giving.
Yeah, so we have a surprise for you too.
Okay.
So Sanil is saying that he will join as a moderator. So me and Sanil will be the moderators.
Oh, so change
that
is
is a
planned.
surprise.
There is a tag team championship happening right now. Sanil Kumar.
See, this is a very unusual panel discussion. Usually you have a panel discussion with one person, right? Panel moderator.
Right.
So we want to rag these guys. All three guys. We want to get all the information for all the audience.
So lots of container storage hazing is going to be happening now. So be prepared,
Really?
Kiran and Yusuf.
Yeah, thank you for the heads up. I'm not going to turn on my camera now.
Okay, brilliant.
Do you have any surprise question from the audience also?
Yeah,
yes, we will take it. Praveen, take some surprises from you also.
Yeah. Amit, you were saying
to escape from your question only, I became moderator.
Okay.
Now, sorry.
My internet has already started fluctuating. Internet connection.
I know. This is a problem with online events. Okay, so we have some other surprise. I mean, we have given surprise to Anvit and audience. We have surprise to panel members also. See, usually panel discussion, I'm just revealing some secret about panel discussion. Usually, any panel discussion, don't tell other people. Okay. We give the tentative questions in advance. You know what? So that people can prepare and you get the right information. Otherwise, it is very difficult, right? I mean, it's practically, even if you are in the panel members, that is what happens.
Right.
One second.
So, I think
Okay,
Senthil,
so
you can start.
sorry. Yeah, I just muted. Yeah. So in this case, also we have given some tentative questions to them, but the surprise for them is that we are skipping all those questions and we are asking something else. Okay. Okay, let's start. So we see the attempt in the panel discussion for today is that we try to understand some trend and really this container storage is a buzzword or it's a reality, people are deploying it or not, and what is there for people like us as developers or architects. Is there any opportunity going forward, or it's already matured, and what is the state of container storage technology today? And as many of us are developers, so it's a great opportunity for us to know what are the opportunities and where this is heading to. Okay, so let's start the rapid fire with Ashit. Ashit, come on, kill them.
Hey, thanks everyone for joining. So let's start with something like, first I'll start with Yusuf. So Yusuf, as you know, like right now, nowadays, most of the storage vendors or cloud vendors are coming up with their own, like writing their own providers or storage classes and providing that. So what is your general view about container storage direction with respect to the storage vendors and the cloud vendors? What is your view about that? Over to you, Yusuf.
Thank you, Ashit. Thank you, Sanil, and thanks everyone for joining this panel and the sessions that we'll held today. So, as one of these storage vendors, I'm talking as a member of SODA and as well as the solution architect. So what I see is the main problem in this area is to try to create something like what it's called a solution that tries to find a problem to fix. So when you do that, when you go into that direction, especially in the container world, there is less likely that you will hit a good point in that area. So what these storage vendors needs to do is first identify the problem in the container storage because there are many, and the container itself is not not a persistent storage native thing. So people needs to, especially storage vendors, needs to figure out what should be the issue and how we can fix main problems with this ecosystem. So when you identify the problems as a storage vendors and then you go into that direction and fix those problems in your software or solution or storage software or SDS, what do you call it? And that makes you a great storage vendors, and that gives you a good opportunity to shine up in that area. So as one of the storage vendors and part of the SODA, and we are also trying to go into that direction all the time.
Very true, very true. Yeah. Kiran, on the same front, like, what is your view? Like, you see that CAS and all these providers by the storage vendors and all are getting the highlights. So, what is your view on that, Kiran?
Yeah, I think like Yusuf nailed it with saying we have to first identify the problem. I think we should turn around to what are we trying to build with containers and how are containers really helping us, right? And come from that angle to see if container storage is really going to fix the problem. I think the challenges that we really have are there's a lot of advancement that's happened in the hardware front. If you catch up with like the recent announcements from vendors like Intel, they talk about like IPUs and like NVIDIA, who's like neck to neck with Intel, is talking about DPUs. Both IPU and DPU are going to change the way storage is going to be deployed, right? Do we have the storage vendor software to make use of these capabilities. So it's almost like you can run a storage server onto a chip, and is the storage that we have right now capable of running into that, right? So it's the footprint that is available on these new machines, the cost of developing that software, the speed at which you are going to like deliver that software. So containers actually promises to solve some of these problems, and applications have taken containers to solve the exact same problems. You know, you basically have faster time to delivery. You can maintain the application software better by using microservices and containers. You can upgrade them. You can like create all sorts of like blue green deployments kind of stuff. Those things have not yet come down to the storage layer, and I think like that's where like the storage architects and vendors are trying to see how we can learn from what applications have done, and how the what are the new advancements that are happening in the storage, and how do we not become a blocker, right? Storage and software in this time and day have become blockers for the growth at which like the devices are rolling out, the data is getting generated. It's all like the cost of, for example, like Google used to give us like all this free storage to save the photos. It no longer gives it, so it puts the burden back on the users to delete those photos and like optimize the cost. That's because the cost of saving the storage has increased, and the burden is getting pushed back onto the end users. So how do we actually remove this burden going forward with better technology, cheaper technology, open source technology? I think that's where I see the things going forward.
True. So Kiran, so as you were saying that it's more about the application performance matching that with the storage, how performant they become to go head on head, right? And we not be the blocker for that case. So do you see that cloud vendors are really catching up on that aspect? Because cloud vendors have mostly the computes, they create the computes, hardwares, and storages they also provide. So do you see that trend coming?
Yeah, I think so. The hyperscale is what cloud vendors actually talk a lot about, and
Right.
cloud vendors, they are basically software teams, big software teams. In terms of capabilities, they definitely have the resources and like intent to kind of build better storage systems. But then typically, users or like enterprises are also worried about security, cloud lock-in, vendor lock-in, and all these things. So they are like really careful of like using whatever the cloud vendors give. It may be great idea to get started in the initial days, but later on you kind of get locked in and your costs increase, and then it will become like difficult to move. So the collaboration with the cloud, what I'm seeing happening these days is cloud vendors are going to provide us a set of like hardware resources, and they're partnering with like all other vendors. Like actually, like if you look at like NetApp runs in cloud,
Exactly.
Linbit
Right.
runs in cloud, OpenEBS runs in cloud.
Right.
um, all these other software vendors are basically building technology in open source. Especially I can say this about Linbit and OpenEBS, which are also part of soda projects. They will not lock the customers into like a data format that is like a private to a cloud, right? But of course, I think like if you go down to a cloud and you break down what a data platform comprises of, they actually take the open source technologies and then like build enterprise features on top of it and then put it there. And the business there is to like attract more users and like get them tied into the cloud. So there is going to be a it's not there's not going to be a single winner here. I think it depends on the needs of the users and enterprises. So one thing to watch out for in this space is security. There's a lot of new data privacy laws and rules that are coming up, and based on that, the choices what users will take up will really matter, and that's going to influence how this whole ecosystem is going to evolve and interoperate. From competition to cohabitation is something that's happening.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, very right. Very right. Kiran. Thanks, Yusuf and Kiran for the like insight into this part. Over to you, Sanil. You have some questions for the panel members.
So you are skipping Amit to me,
Yes.
and you are
Yes.
giving Amit to me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
You can. Yeah, all yours.
Okay, so yeah, actually, what Kiran and Yusuf mentioned, especially on this cloud native and container storage, the summary, what we can understand is that it is not a buzzword. It's happening. It's really happening, and it's very important. Whether it is cloud vendor, actually, Kiran and Yusuf both. I think Kiran is both of them are from storage vendors, and like Kiran mentioned, most of the storage vendors are trying to put their storages in cloud and is coming to on-premise. So it's both the sides, right? This is what is happening today. So it is important.
Can add, Sanil.
Yeah.
See, the traction has been there for last 4-5 years, and if you notice, a couple of events like Pure Storage acquiring Portworx is one of the evidence that there is a lot of traction that is happening. Still, it is underwater, but there is a lot of action still happening.
Right. Actually, this is very important point. I mean, this acquisitions, if you see, right, there are so many acquisitions happening. Portworx and this what is this? Turbonomics. IBM is buying Turbonomics. It is completely a performance store kind of thing. So people are consolidating. So we can see that on-premise is going to cloud, and cloud is coming to on-premise. Even AKS anywhere is something like Kubernetes deployment completely on on-premise, right? So Amit, what do you think? See, we see that this is an opportunity, but what are the key opportunities? I will start from you. That you have a startup and you have opportunities for developers. So I just wanted to focus on developers. What are the key opportunities for developers and architects? What they should focus going forward?
Yes. As we see that, so if the industry is growing, definitely the opportunities for developers and the related technologists, engineers, and the demand for them goes up. And what I have seen in last 3-4 years, there's an insatiable requirement of DevOps, cloud native, and cloud engineers. If you look at the job or the HR recruiters, every day they put in their posts, right? So of course, it includes the full stack. If you're a developer, full stack developer, nothing like it. But if one has a solid grip on storage, it is an icing on the cake. And I can tell you why, because the storage, not just now, but even Asit will basically concur that since last 15-16 years, storage has been a very niche area of technology. You would hardly get resources as far as storage is concerned. And now, given that you have the container space exploding, you still have a lot of requirements for people who are developers and who have an exposure of storage. Uh, Development is one part, but somebody who has that skill set of storage, it becomes a deadly combination. Further, if somebody can place in the crossroads of DevOps and data engineering, then you become a cynosure of all the recruiters.
Sanil, you're on mute.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, thanks, Yusuf. So it's becoming a habit now, talking on mute. Yeah, this is very key point, that DevOps and now I think it is turning to AI ops as well, right, Amit? Because this is just coming into that space.
We are into data engineering, and if you look at there's a lot of noise about AI, ML, analytics, and everything. But then when we go to customers and some associates who are into analytics, they go to the customers and tell them, "Oh, great, we will give you this dashboard, we will build you this, that." And so customer is also delighted, wow, looking at the possibility of the insights that they will get from the analytics engine. But the moment these AI guys or the analytics guys, they ask, okay, great, so now give us the data. So customer asks, like, what data you're talking about? And that's where this data engineering and data management comes in picture. And there's a huge gap there. The world is moving. A lot of people know about machine learning, artificial intelligence, big data, but like this awareness of this complete data pipeline is missing. And somebody who has that skill set And you can tie that skill set with the cloud native skills, the DevOps skills, along with the data engineering skills. They are the envy. They should be the the hot cakes of the market.
Okay. That I think that summarizes really well. So data engineering, DevOps, and you come from cloud native and container kind of a background, plus container storage. Yeah, your future is secured.
I am from data storage background, like 16 years I have been into data storage, and I see that how data storage has evolved. And now what I see is an explosion of the demand.
Okay. So let's hear from Kiran and Yusuf as well, because they are completely from the storage space. They have a lot of developers working on OpenEBS, LinStore, and those kind of open source projects. So how do you see, Yusuf, that the opportunities for developers and what they need to learn, or that what they need to focus going forward in key aspects, other than say DevOps, and in general container and Kubernetes kind of stuff? But these are all very big terms, right? So
Yeah.
how do they take their career forward?
I mean, yeah, I totally agree with Amit, and it's becoming more and more important in the days of these development cycles. And what's important for the developers is to make them life easier, right? And every developer wants to maintain everything easy, and they don't want to get involved with too many storage problems within their development cycles. So what they want is to have a uh, smooth transition from um, the legacy infrastructures to the containerization world. So and the storage needs to be moving with them through that direction, and the developers have this kind of um, um, if they have this kind of infrastructure within their hands, everything will be just good as it is. So for example, in our company, since the developers who build the LinStore itself, also they are a developers, so we can understand, actually they can understand what they need to build for people to use. And this helps us to understand community better, and we have this a huge amount of responses and feedbacks from the community, and that's how we develop the LinStore these days.
Okay, so I derive one point from your description, is that as we see container storage, it is something like the one key aspect is kind of migration now, maybe from the legacy infrastructure to the containerized part. So this area, you see that there can be good enough opportunities coming in for even for developers or architects for a smooth migration of the legacy infrastructure to the containerized storage or cloud native space, right?
Yeah, that's totally it. And you know, when people try to find and people try to use some storage software in the container world, they want to me personally, when I first hear the containerization storage, I afraid. And when I first joined this company, Linbit, I know the concept of containerization. I used a couple of times, but when you get into that area, it's like seriously hard. All right. I totally, you know, we have a developer who develops our container storage part. And one day I asked him, okay, and his name is Moritz. He's a great developer. And I asked him, okay, Moritz, thanks for doing everything, but I have a little bit trouble with understanding this whole concept. So please explain that to me. And he said, don't worry, nobody understands that well. So just try to become, just try to know as much as you can. So I understand this whole problem, and I understand people are afraid, but at some time you have to use a product that binds both legacy infrastructures and container infrastructures. And that's if you have this kind of a platform that can work in both sides, that you can ease people and you can relax people and developers especially, and use the product in their infrastructures, and then they can
Yusuf,
migrate from one place to another.
right. So Yusuf, you're not really scaring the people attending this meetup, right?
Yeah, I know.
So basically what you're telling is that even if you don't know, yeah, just do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So by the way, are you starting any R&D center in India? We have so many developers in this meetup.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay. Yeah, going to Kiran. Kiran, I think you have been in this space for quite some time, and you are one of the founders of my data storage background. I mean, strong background of storage. So what do you think in recent space? I mean, what kind of resources and what kind of skills you search for?
So let me just answer one question that you asked, Yusuf, and then answer the question that you're asking me. So
Yeah, thanks.
you don't need a software development center for Limpet in India. It's open source, so you can contribute from anywhere.
Yeah, go ahead, Kiran.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, Kiran.
Right. So with open source, you don't need a software center here. You can develop from anywhere, wherever you are. Right. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
So answering the question on what we look for, I think we look for people with an open mind that can solve problems. Right now, coming from the past storage experience, we know what the problems we have to solve, but we have to solve in a new way. The same challenges have to be tackled in a different way. It's a great thing for good engineers because you have a set of challenges that you have to solve using new constructs. For example, like volume scheduling, right? We would think that this is like a solved problem, but with Kubernetes and containers, it has become an unsolved problem again, right? So with experience in Go, with experience in algorithms, that's one category of control plane engineers that we are looking for. And then there is also like a set of engineers who are interested in hardware and systems programming, system engineering. There are a lot more tools that they can learn now, like DPDK, SPDK, Rust, NVMe, these kind of things. There is a transformation stage where things are changing. We are not looking for really experienced, engineers, but people who can learn these new technologies quickly and contribute to the projects. In fact,
Yeah, that's actually.
a great mix would be good. People who with a lot of experience actually come with so many set mindset of how things are, that it actually becomes difficult to unlearn some of those concepts to develop for the new generation, right?
Yes.
So that's
Yeah, thanks, Kiran, for telling that. Like, you don't need people like us, and you need people like who is attending students, right? Yeah, thanks.
yeah,
You
you
are
and me are in the same boat.
scaring us rather than scaring them.
Yeah, it's time we get both retire, Sanil. I think like
Yes,
let
yes,
the
yes,
generation
yes.
take on.
Yeah, please give me a plan, retirement plan.
And Kiran, you rightly pointed, like earlier we were talking about the security aspect in the container space. And now when you talk about the algorithms and all, the skill set for the knowing the algorithm, the computes and all, that will be very handy when you are developing or creating some security solutions in the containerized environment, right? The
Absolutely,
algorithms
Ashit.
is a lot over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I mean give it back to Arshit to fire the next one, especially on the use case part. So I just want to ask Kiran, Yusuf, and Amit, hey, how many job requirements you are going to post after this meetup? Their network will go down now.
So there are already postings that are open, I guess. It's better. Like, I come from My Data. That's the company behind OpenEBS. So check out for the career pages if any of you is interested. I think we can do it. And another great place to look for open opportunities. maybe this is something that we should do for Soda also, Sanil. CNCF job postings, right? That's basically telling you, like, what are all the different jobs available for cloud native Kubernetes. Different member companies of CNCF, they post all the job opportunities there. That's one great place to look if you are looking
Yeah.
into working on Kubernetes and DevOps.
Hey, thanks, Kiran. I think this is a good input.
Yeah.
Amit, yeah.
Yeah, if you have some time, just I want to add. See, there are some other related technologies which are really, at the cusp of, getting exploding. Is blockchain. One of the blockchain sector. It is going to be a big thing in next 10 years. And blockchain is tightly coupled with the containers, because if you look at most of the fabric that are available in the market, Hyperledger or Ethereum, they are built on cloud native. They are built on containers. And if somebody with this skill set of containers and storage, and if you add this blockchain, I mean, again, there is a huge avenue that is opening up in next few years.
Okay. So do you have any requirement for blockchain?
Yes.
I'm interested.
Yes, definitely. One of my.
I will talk to you in person.
Sure.
Okay. Hey,
For
joke apart.
for the record, before we close this subject, the
Yeah.
only job requirement I look is always eager to be learned, and that's the only thing that it matters. I mean, everything can be learned, so that's the only thing matters. Obviously, we need a skill set, but that's less likely matter.
Yusuf, you're asking, you see, all these are possible, like container expertise, Kubernetes expertise, container storage, blockchain, edge computing, all this possible. But whatever you are asking is the rarest stuff. It's very difficult. I think Amit and Kiran also will agree with me. When we go to the market and get the resources, they may have all these skill sets. But Kiran asked that people should be open. And you're asking that people should be passionate to maybe accept things and learn things and kind of stuff. That is where I find a big gap, especially on the resource side. Probably people are, I mean, our the education system or the curriculum is more towards uh, uh, technicalities more than the personality part of it. I think that's very important. And yeah, let me go to some of the technical aspects back. Hey Ashit, you can take them.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, Amit. I'll start with Amit. So Amit, maybe we have been seeing that container deployments and everything has been exploding. So you now hear the new term as EAS, like environment as a service. That is a very prominent, and some of the startups in the Kubernetes space, like Ken and all, they are growing in that space, right? And also, like we have been talking in the bits and pieces today, that there are different things that is for the deployment, container storage deployments are required. So what is, if I ask you for like one specific use case, which are very prominent for container storage deployment, what will be your take on that? Amit?
I think one of the trends that I see, most of the web applications that we are seeing these days, so most of them are moving towards serverless, and serverless, and also even the containers are getting serverless. So connections, the data storage on the serverless platform is one of the key areas, which is the new trend that managed services, managed containers, and connecting with them with various available options of storage, be it NoSQL or RDBMS or even object store or any other off-the-shelf storage services, NFS. So this is one of the major use cases that we can look at, that I am looking at personally when I'm speaking to my customers.
Okay, so basically application and serverless deployment, right? So that is something. Yeah. So over to you, Kiran. So what is your take on this? Like when so as Amit said that application and serverless deployment for the data storage and all, that is very upcoming thing in the deployment. So what is your take from the storage perspective? What do you see that what is very prominent, Kiran?
Yeah, I think the focus has to always be around applications, because at the end of the day, users need applications and we have to serve proper applications. Now, these applications, we can kind of consider them as stateless, but at the end of the day, they have to write somewhere or read from somewhere, right?
Right.
So the challenge that we have today in terms of implementing better services are like, the entire CSI, for example, or the Kubernetes itself is just 3-year-old project, right? So how do you do volume groups? How do you do snapshots? Like basically protect users from making mistakes on the storage that is coming from container interface, right? Um, so high availability is a big aspect. So when we are designing applications, if can applications take care of mistakes that users do, mistakes that, faults that happen in the systems, and can they recover automatically? If not, it's probably better to like actually work on new operators and new data operation automations before moving the applications into Kubernetes, for example, especially when it comes to storage related applications. So again, like, going back to what Yusuf said, like, people have solutions and they want to fit everything into that solution. That is definitely not the right way to do. Um, we are going to lose the credibility in the process, and also like customers are going to like fail terribly because they don't still understand exactly how to use the container storage. So in fact, like, uh, Soda is in a great place to focus on use cases and help users perform or like, design the frameworks and for operations around like, how to use the mix of these new technologies that are coming up in the right way so that, mistakes don't happen. I would just end this with one point. We are moving into a technology stage where we no longer build systems that are designed to handle failures. We have to build systems that are designed to fail, right? There's a huge difference between these two things, right? And we have to,
Very true.
that's, Kubernetes clusters, they come and then they go, right? And how do you handle like a complete cluster failure and still maintain the state of the state in a consistent way is really important. I think like a lot of innovation has to happen. I'm really great, feeling great that we are part of sort of foundation where we actually talk about these problems, and like, we have a long way to go. So Sanil, our job is to architect and let other people take over the implementation aspects.
Yeah, and
Yeah, your retirement plan is that, I know.
Yep, exactly.
and Kiran, you rightly pointed like taking care of the cluster failures and disaster recovery and all. So even Soda, we have started something like data protection in the containerized space. We had some of the experimental solution that we have put. So you know that there are different companies which are moving into this direction, and their solutions are like, for example, NetApp, Astra, or Velero and all. They are moving into this direction prominently. So yeah, so that's a good input, Kiran. Yusuf, quickly to you, what is your take on this? Like, what is the prominent thing that you see in the containerized deployments right now?
Yeah. So we know that the current companies are trying to lift and shift their existing applications into a modern cloud architectures, and they need to. Why they need to choose a containerization world? Because it has the flexibility and it has the CI/CD pipelines and so on. It supports these kind of new style of development. So people refactor their existing applications into the container world. And this, and what I see from my own experience is mostly happening in the first place is the finance industry, because they are agile, they want to move faster, they have resources both in money, people and such, so they can do this transition really fast than others. So from my experience in the company, what's coming from the customer base is that the finance industry is acting more, let's say, quick into the container storage and container world. So that's my experience, and this should be the this should be it.
Yeah, and that brings us in the point that how resilient and how resilient your solution becomes when, because you are dealing
Yes,
with the finance industry, right?
yes. That's
Yeah, I
that's the
think
first question you got when you hang up the phone. Nowadays it's Zoom, but it's the first question you get is how reliable is your storage solution?
exactly,
That's the
exactly.
first question.
Yeah.
Everything
So
started.
yeah, I think Anvit is looking us for the
Yeah,
time.
I think
So,
yeah, we
so
will just
I think
quickly
closing statements from everybody would be something good because we are
yeah, and with
already
just
over
a
time.
few minutes, we'll just
yeah,
close
Sunny.
this off. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you see the summary what we are getting from these people. I think application serverless, the protection, and this migration part from the legacy to this. These are some of the key areas probably we should going forward focus. I think some of the inputs, whatever you have given, we will take it for our SODA uh, open data framework direction as well. I think there is one, I mean, maybe just one question we'll take and then we'll close. I think it's an interesting question, tough question to answer. So to all the panelists discussion, thank you. One observation with the job openings, okay? I think I expected this question actually. Most of the companies want people with some experience to hire, means they need some technical experience. And person who is eager to unlearn and learn new technology do not get the chance. Okay, so this is I think somebody answered also, but anyway, so this is one question. Do you have a quick thought? Maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds. Your time starts now, Amit.
Yeah, so I would say that see, it is not about as one of you have said about like most of us focus on technical skills, but the other skills, the non-technical, the personality skills are equally important. And what happens is sometimes people with experience bring that maturity to the table, which basically goes beyond the technical skills, and that is what most of the companies are looking at. Your delivery skills, your communication skills, how you can solve a problem, the thought process that you bring in. See, if you look at with these white hat juniors and all, they have started coding people at kids at of 7 8 standards. So very soon start having a crowd who is 10th pass and he knows Python or Java so very well. However, where do you bring that mindset of a professional? And that's where the experience comes in. However, that is a very generic statement, but we have seen some freshers out of college bring in a lot of maturity, skills into the role, and they quickly grow up the ladder.
So basically, what meaning is that skill is something like a entry criteria, but getting a job it doesn't start there basically. Okay, so Yusuf, quickly, maybe in 30 seconds, what suggestions you want to give for this question that without skill you won't get job? So what to do?
I will do a comparison from the real life, right? So it's all about, it's more like a marriage, all right? So nobody has experience about marriage before they get married, right? So this is like nobody has this. But what keeps a marriage going is a, a, a guy or a woman needs to tend to move that marriage into the future. If they don't have this feeling in there, that marriage will end at some point, right? So and all people by heart wants to find that woman or man, whatever, to keep that marriage ongoing. And this is the same as the jobs. So I know the experience is really, really important because people are first looking to that. I understand. And somebody write like do open source contributions. I totally agree on that. You can do open source contributions, but I hired too many people in my previous jobs. I can say this honestly that yes, I check the experience, but I mostly check for the personality because that's more important to me Everything can be taught, but the experience will come later on. So to me personally, I'm looking for the personality, but I know people just looking for experience, then just forget about them. And we are living in post-COVID era. Everything is remote. You can find work into US, into Turkey, into wherever you are. So you are not limited with your country. So just be open, send emails, talk people, attend places, and so on.
So this is a strong message, Yusuf, that you are telling that those people who are arrogant and adamant on only technical skills, forget about them. There are a number of opportunities. And also one more important point is that, yeah, marriage, you gave a very good example. And there was a strong message also that experiment with it, right? Okay, let's go to Kiran. Kiran, you have something to say, just to quickly, to close.
Cool. So, I mean, if we take the marriage example, marriage is almost like getting a job. We have to use the dating period, right?
Kiran, Kiran, you are going through a dangerous situation. I mean, exploring, but
okay. So to answer
people
the
will start talking about job change.
let's basically like take this into two, right? There's a fresher and there is an experienced person. What's the journey for fresher? I think like getting started with the mentorship programs, attending Hacktoberfest, or like any hackathons. I think that's a good place to start and win those competitions and get there. For an experienced person, you actually need to do a lot of research on exactly what you want to get, and then you have to prepare your journey to get into a company or a list of companies that you want. It's not going to be easy for experienced people unless like there is a job opening matching your
Kiran,
criteria,
this is
but
too
it's
much, Kiran. You are repeatedly telling the same.
Yep.
Okay, so it's thanks Amit, thanks Yusuf, thanks Kiran, thanks Ashit. This is a very nice informal kind of talk, but a lot of gist for the audience. I mean, it's great talking to each of you. And just to summarize, one point is about container storage is not a buzzword. It's really happening. The deployment is happening. People are searching for resources to do specific things. So get into this kind of technologies. Identify what you need to focus. And one of the best option. There is a question also for freshers. Where do we start? According to me, my best input is, I think already somebody mentioned in the chat also, that start working with any of the open source project. Just start working and be patient. Just spend 3 or 4 months consistently with an open source project, and most of the open source project communities are very open and they will help you mentoring. And we also have Soda Foundation. We have specific mentoring. You can see a lot of students from Christu Jayanti College today. We are working with them. We are trying to help them to enable them and incubate to open source world. And open source has immense power. So with that, Ashit, the sixer is from you. I mean, you want to?
I think you summarized it very well. And one thing for the students over here, I really like to point it out, as Kiran was also saying, that you need to have your basics of the computer science very clear, very strong, and any technology, any domain or any platform, you can be very well versed with by the time you get into that domain. And yeah, that is the key thing that we should do. And Yusuf, thanks for the part that technology and marriage, you always keep learning. So that was a good point.
Yeah, Ashit is more interested. Ashit, your wife is around?
No, I have closed the door. Don't worry.
Okay.
Hey, thanks a lot, Amit,
Yeah.
Yusuf, and Kiran.
Anvit has already broken his fingers
Right.
at the time.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks.
Hey, thank you guys. Yeah.
So thank you, Sanil, thank you, Ashit, thank you, Amit, Yusuf, and Kiran for that brilliant panel discussion. Yusuf, there is just one slight confusion if you use the analogy of marriage with a job, because you can freelance with a job.
My network is down already, okay? My network is down.
Anvit, it is getting recorded.
So, dangerous territory, my friend, very dangerous territory. So, let's move on now very quickly to the next topic. Thank you so much for that. I think you guys have covered a vast majority of topics that I think are relevant to the switch from a regular job to something in the cloud native world. I think that was something which all the students here would definitely appreciate. I'm sure if when I was a student, I would have appreciated something like this coming my way. So make sure you use this information. Again, as we said before, if you have any questions, put them in the chat window and we will be getting back to you after the sessions. Uh, at the moment, we are way over time. So let me just quickly move on now to the next session, and that is going to be sorry about that. Right. So our next session is going to be on container attached storage 101, and it's going to be conducted by Akhil Mohan, who's software engineer at MyData. Akhil, over to you very quickly.
Yep. Shall I share my?
Sure, obviously. Thank you. There you go. Let me know when you're sharing.
Okay. Just a moment.
All right, we can see your screen. Yes.
It's in presentation mode, right?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Over to you.
Yep. Okay. Hey folks, I'm Akhil Mohan and I work at MyData. So Anvik has already given an introduction. And so container attached storage is basically something that is different from the traditional storage solution and something that we deploy in the latest Kubernetes. A storage actually built on top of Kubernetes. So OpenEBS is one of the container attached storage solution and for running stateful workloads on Kubernetes. And these are brief coordinates of OpenEBS storage, the various links where we can you can access about OpenEBS and the companies and where you can contribute. So OpenEBS was basically started at MyData, my employer, and then it was donated to CNCF Foundation in May 2019, and it's a sandbox project in CNCF, and we are moving to going through the incubation process currently. And we are also on the path to become an ecosystem project in Soda Foundation soon. And that's it. Now moving on to the origins of OpenEBS. Okay, so any end user application, so be it everyone has applications that maybe in healthcare, automobiles, and all those applications deals with. So when you deploy this application in Kubernetes, basically it's you have some port and some service catering to that ports. That's how you deploy. So the Kubernetes was actually developed for with stateless applications in mind, but the applications that even if you consider the applications are stateless, still they need to store some data at some point of time, maybe maybe configurations or as I mentioned in the presentation, you need to store or read images, text messages, etc. So for this you need actually a stateful applications like databases like MySQL or key value stores like DIDB. And you can actually deploy stateful applications also on Kubernetes. So in Kubernetes terms, when you deploy a stateful application and you need a volume, and in Kubernetes, it's presented as a persistent, you say it as a persistent volume. And from this stateful applications actually doesn't do the actual storage. They do some processing. For example, you have a database like MySQL, they do some processing and still put that data onto somewhere. So for that, you have the volume or data engine that actually deals with reading and writing the blocks of data, maybe it's a block storage device. And there is one application for that, basically the data engine. And then you have the actual storage device where the data is written, maybe it's an SSD, HDD, or cloud volumes. And now moving on to the stateful applications and the data engine part. So earlier, the stateful applications were actually relying on the storage engine for most of the features like replication, like availability, all this were handled by the data engine. But like at some point, like the stateful applications, as they become more and more intelligent, they can itself handle the replication and all, and for what they are expecting from the volume is like high performance and security and all those kind of things. So that's where like some local persistent volumes comes in, which I will be discussing at, later in the slides. And also the storage has also evolved, like with better hardware and like new protocols like NVMe, where you can get much better performance out of the SSDs that you have attached. So OpenEBS was developed with this in mind. Like OpenEBS actually uses the blocks of Kubernetes itself to manage the data layer. So actually we are using like both iSCSI and NVMe protocols we are using in our different storage engines. And like the volume, the data engine layer is again managed by the Kubernetes, so that like the crashes can be handled, like scaling up, scaling down, etc. can be handled. And that's how OpenEBS was developed. And like even if you check at the technology adoption stage, this is on the right side. It's actually from a survey by CNCF. So only like 20% of the surveys were actually using the actual storage engines, like the data engine part on Kubernetes. So OpenEBS is one of them. And like, but Kubernetes for stateful workloads were at a 55%. That means like still there were customers actually using like cloud volumes. Cloud volumes for stateful applications. So stateless applications, like anyway, it's at 91%, because like Kubernetes was designed with stateless applications in mind. So now, where does OpenEBS fit in this whole cloud native or like this storage scheme? So like we have the stateful workloads, and like then the container orchestrators, then the control plane and data plane. That's where actually the storage provisioning and like the actual data path and everything happens. That is represented by the orange box. So like in the stateful workloads, you have applications like MySQL, MariaDB, etc. And the stateful workloads actually interact with the data plane to transfer data or like store and retrieve data. And from the data plane, it will be going to the storage systems. So Kubernetes comes in place of the container orchestrators. So like as it was mentioned in the first session, like Kubernetes is one of the container orchestrators that has like gained tremendous popularity. So like it's like the de facto container orchestrator now. And from there, like you have the control plane interface, like different CSI, the container storage interface for the storage. And so from there, like OpenEBS comes like in the control plane and data plane part. So OpenEBS has like both a control plane and data plane, and that's where the OpenEBS fits in this whole cloud native ecosystem. And like there is another part like of the framework and tools, which basically deals with like monitoring is there, adding intelligence to storage systems. And this is a part like where much development is still needed, and like it's going on. And Soda Foundation is like has some projects focused on that part. And now going on to the OpenEBS data engines. OpenEBS has like multiple data engines, and it's like basically we have categorized it into two. Like one is for the local volumes, and the other one is the replicated volumes. In local volumes, it's like the stateful workload is like directly connected to the block device or an aggregation layer, maybe like LVM or ZFS. And in the replicated storage part, it's actually like you have the workload actually connects to the a target. Basically, it will be iSCSI or NVMe OF target, and from there, like we handle the replication. So like synchronous replication will be done. So this is where the application hands over the replication side to the storage engine. So storage engine itself has to manage the replication. This is like in case of some old applications, you have to do that. And now the OpenEBS data engines, like just a brief description of that. So first we will go through the local volumes. So when you deploy a local volume from the service, it actually comes to the pod, and from the pod, it will be coming to the persistent volume, and from the persistent volume, the data will be like directly written onto the disk. So one thing about the local volumes is that the data is always tied onto the node because the disk is like always attached to a single node. So that's one thing about the local volumes. So the advantage of using the local volumes is that like there is like very little overhead, and the performance will be very high, and also like you can use almost the full capacity, since like there are no intermediate layers handling anything, like from the direct volume to the block layer, you are getting direct access. So in case of replicated volumes, its story is a little bit different. Yeah, in case of replicated volumes, the story is a little bit different. You have the application port, which comes to the persistent volume, and the persistent volume, instead of directly contacting a disk for writing the data, actually, we have an intermediate port that takes in the IO request and then synchronously replicates it to all the disks. So like the replication is handled here, and even if the application port is on like node 1, the data will be still returned to all the other nodes. So this helps to maintain the replication, and even if like one of the disks goes bad or one of the node goes bad, the port can move to another node and still retrieve the data from there. So in this case, there is an overhead because of the network that is coming in, and the replication protocols that are handled in between. And also, since we are doing a synchronous replication, there will be also a performance hit on like how much IOs can be served extra. And now this is a general like a comparison of like the different data engines that are available in OpenEBS. So we have local volumes. The examples that are available are like device, hostpath, LVM, and ZFS. So I'll briefly show about device driver. That's actually one of the simplest CSI driver that you can use in Kubernetes. And then you have the replicated volumes like CStore and Jiva, which uses iSCSI, and like MyStore, which uses SPDK and NVMe or Fabric. So so basically like the advantages and like the various features are like mentioned here, the availability, scalability, and all those factors. So when you look at the performance and all, like you can see that for local volumes, like it only depends on the file system used at the application layer. The performance is dependent on that part. So like and it has a low overhead. And in case of replicated volumes, it also comes to the memory and CPU that is allocated, because there is some additional processing that is happening at the storage layer. And also the availability part, the local volumes will always be available only on one node, because like the disk is connected to there, and like so we cannot actually physically move the disk unless like it's a difficult scenario. And but in case of replicated volumes, the data will still be available in the replicas, and like it will be easy to move the application port within the cluster. Now so I'll just give a quick overview of a device local PV. This is a CSI driver. So CSI drivers were already mentioned by Sushant in the first session. So this is a CSI driver for directly accessing the disks that are connected to your nodes in the cluster. So like so how this is designed is like for example, like we have a 3-node Kubernetes cluster here, like with one OS disk and like one additional disk attached. So how we identify the disk on which we need to create the volume is like by we are creating a meta partition. Like it's just for storing the metadata where we have written some data and like some identification information. This will be done actually by the infra team, and then like it's about setting up OpenEBS. So the OpenEBS device CSI driver will be installed, and then the necessary storage classes. So these are like terminologies used in the Kubernetes to access a persistent volume. Now the developer just needs to create a deployment or a stateful set with a persistent volume claim. So when that is done, so first the port comes in, and then you have the persistent volume claim. And from there, a PV is created, like a persistent volume is created by the OpenEBS device driver. So it will be it will be carving out a partition from this device and exposing it as a volume. So it's just like you format your disk and like create a partition and exposing this as a volume to an application. So what we are doing is we are automating all these operations via the CSI driver in the device driver. So this is a example. Now, so this is like how you can install the OpenEBS device driver. Actually, like I have tested this on a 3-node cluster, and like as part of the CSI, you have some components called the controller and like the node plugins. In the controller and node plugins will be, and like the YAML file mentioned on the like the left bottom is actually a storage class definition, like storage class spec. And in the parameters section, I have mentioned something called dev name, that is a device name. So it's a test device. That is actually a metadata that we have written on the device so that like we can easily identify it. And then on the right side, we have the persistent volume claim. And like we have mentioned the access modes, like where it's like read write once, and then how much capacity we need to carve out from our device. And next, so this will be like when you go inside the node initially, like you can see SDB is the disk that I want to use for creating volumes. And like I have created just one meta partition that's of like 9 MB size for just storing some data. And when you list the partitions, you can see that like this 9 MB with a name of test device, which will be used to create the volume. So when I apply the persistent volume claim, so this will be like the storage class will be mentioned and its status will be in pending state. And once I deploy the app, so you can see that like a 4 GB partition has been created and like it's automatically mounted inside the application. And also the when you list the partitions, you can see that the 4 GB size volume is created and like with a name given as that of the PV. And the PV will come to a bound state, and basically the application will be now in a running state. So this is basically the workflow of how the different components interact to create a persistent volume. So we have the API server, the user who contacts the API server to create a PVC, and from there it moves on to the etcd where the YAML spec is stored, and from there the provisioner picks it up and asks the controller, like one of the components of the CSI driver, to create a volume, and from there that information is passed on to the node where the volume needs to be created, and the volume is carved out, and all the steps like go back till the API server so that the user gets a bound PVC. And so this is the workflow. Yes, and that's about it. Yep. This is like any questions on this can be like asked on like the community Slack, or where you can contact the developers. And yep, thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. That was great. Thank you for the update.
Thanks, Akhil. Thanks for the detailed 101 on OpenEBS and how to use container attached storage. Any questions on this topic? We will take some more questions if you have any. You can put them in the chat. We will take it up directly right now, or we can take it up with Akhil post session, and then we'll get back to you on email.
Yeah, good.
But thanks, Akhil. I think it was a very detailed explanation, but done in a very quick manner. So I think a lot of information has been shared today. Any links you have, you can put them in the chat. Maybe people can take a look at it, and any further information that they can ask for. Maybe you can just put some links. Yeah.
Sure, I will post.
Okay, I think one question by Ambarish. He says, OpenEBS works only with local storage device, or will it also work with enterprise external storage?
So like, okay, enterprise external storage, like, can you give some examples? Like, I'm very
Like NetApp and such.
Yeah,
I guess.
so
Yeah,
maybe I
yeah,
can
yeah.
take that one. So if you have a NetApp and if you can create block volumes and attach to the nodes, OpenEBS can take them and use them as well. And there's a southbound provisioner that we're working on that can also automatically provision the volumes on NetApp and consume that for the OpenEBS storage. Thanks, Ambrish, for asking that question.
Any further questions? I think okay. Somebody said like NetApp itself. So yeah. So I think that's answered. And if you have any further questions, please put them in the chat, and we will take them up. And going with the theme for today, which is surprises. There's a surprise for you, Yusuf. You are doing the next talk. I believe Yusuf was waiting for one more session before he could talk, but we've just moved things around a little bit because we have something interesting cooking in the background, some surprises again. With us today is the solutions architect from Linbit and also a SODA TOC member and architecture work group member, Yusuf Yildiz, who will be speaking to us about block storage management for containers with Linstore. Over to you, Yusuf.
Thanks, Anvit. I begged Sanil from privately. I said, I don't want to get killed by my wife, so please let me do before everyone else. And
You don't want to experiment more experiments with marriage.
yeah. So this has to be done. I guess now everybody understands my comparison between marriage and technology.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me share my screen and start doing this. I guess
it's visible.
I guess everybody can see it, right? But
yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining this great event. So I am Yusuf Yildiz. I'm based in Istanbul, Turkey, and I'm working as a solution architect in Linbit, and I'm also a TOC member of SODA, proud TOC member of SODA. And for more than 10 years, I have worked in my professional life in such roles as a storage admin, like cloud operations manager. And for the last 1.5 years, I stepped into the open source world. And now I start working as a solution architect in Linbit. All right, so in this slide, I will try to explain a short explanation about Linstore and what it is doing and why we are joining in SODA and so on. So before that, I will give you a short explanation about our company. So as I mentioned, the name is Linbit. Linbit is an Austrian company based in Vienna. And we have another office in USA in Portland, Oregon. And we have like a couple of distributors and resellers all over the world, one in Japan, an exclusive partner Japan in Sios. We have two main open source software that we released since 20 years. And the one that you might heard of is DRBD. DRBD stands for Distributed Replicated Block Device. It basically replicates the block device between two Linux machines. And the other one is Linstore, which we will talk about today. It's an SDS. And we released Linstore in 2016, and it is also an open source project. And the Linstore leverages DRBD, and that's how we do the block storage in container world and also like virtualization world and so on and so on. All right, so let me give you a brief explanation about Linstore first and DRBD, and then I will jump into the container. So Linstore is an SDS, like I mentioned, an SDS as an SDS. It supports too many platforms. starting with Kubernetes. Actually, the best platform is Kubernetes, and also the hyperconverged infrastructures. And Linstore has two components. One of them is the controller and the other one is the satellite. And these two components are not in the data plane, and the data plane itself is the RBD. And the RBD on the right-hand side, you can see as a technology that sits between, the RBD sits between the file system and the disk itself, and it replicates the data through TCP/IP to the second machine or second node, worker node, or hyperconverged node, and so on. And the RBD is a kernel driver and replicates the data through a network, and Linstore leverages the RBD in these kind of platforms to maintain both a replication, I mean the data protection, and also the managing the data itself. So let's say you have 5 worker node here, like in this case, and you installed Linstore satellite on each node. Linstore satellite is responsible for creating, managing, destroying, resizing the resources in those machines. By resource, I mean volume. I mean a stateful volume and so on. And satellites are controlled by the Linstore controller, and the Linstore controller itself can be inside of the cluster or outside of the cluster. That's up to you because it's not in the data path. So when a Kubernetes, let's say, asked for two-way replicated persistent volume from Linstore controller, Linstore controller checks the cluster, finds two possible nodes that can provide this kind of space, and creates a DRBD pair, which is basically a replication between two machines, and binds to the pod. So this is how Linstore works. Linstore has really two components, and there are two basic components what it's doing. So we have three things in mind. The RBD is doing the top layer of the replication, and there is Linstore controller, and there is Linstore satellite. And on the below, you have LVM, you have ZFS, you have too many things to manage, and everything is controlled. Even the physical disks are controlled by the Linstore controller. So Linstore is like a software that manages everything in the terms of storage, starting from the hardware layer on top of the operation layer, I mean Kubernetes. So all you need to do is install Linstore into the Kubernetes environment, and then you fire up the volumes, and everything else is handled by the Linstore. So the good parts of the RBD is it has an in-kernel data path. That means it reduces the number of context switches, or it's saving your CPU and memory resources, and it has the minimal latency for the block IO operations that gives you the high power, high IOPS. And you have an option to load balancing for the reads, not the writes, but the reads. So you can have like a load balancing on the reads that gives you a great opportunity. And we built this whole infrastructure in existing components, so you don't have to learn new stuff. This is what we talk in the panel also. So if you say a developer or someone else that you need to learn new technologies to maintain this infrastructure, that will make them away from you. But if you build something on existing components that they are familiar with, that's better. So the RBD, LVM, ZFS, looks, video, these kind of things are leveraging in the Linstore. So it helps you to understand and use the infrastructure better. And Linstore also gives you the gives you help on day-to-day operations by leveraging on the operation teams like a prior knowledge. I mean, they know, everybody knows what is LVM, right? Everybody knows what is ZFS, even in the concept. Everybody know what's looks and video and so on. So these are the things that you already know, and LinStore just manages them for you. And it is very well suitable for hyperconverged. And if you think about hyperconverged, it is really similar on the Kubernetes, because in the Kubernetes, you have worker nodes with the local storage attached, and these worker nodes are responsible for those pods and stuff. So it's very, it has very similarities with the hyperconverged. And this is why LinStore is very well suited for that job. Okay, after this part, let me give you an example what we did, where we closed the gap in the Kubernetes world. So as I mentioned before, so just the CSI is the first step into the Kubernetes storage, right? You have to develop a CSI driver to become one of the storage vendors in this area. But the thing is, CSI itself is not enough, because too many things need to be solved. In normal, in legacy applications, in legacy infrastructures, storage can be easily managed by the developer and by the system admin, and they don't need to worry about persistent or location of the volume. But in Kubernetes world, by default, there are some problems that you have when you start working on that. For instance, the data localization, like scheduling, like high availability of the data, and things like that, or management of the data, and so on and so on. So we think about that in the LinStore development, and we say, okay, we need to fix all of these problems one by one within LinStore, so people don't have these kind of issues in their infrastructure. So first, we start with the installation, because it needs to be easy, right? And to me personally, Kubernetes is like a really deep hole that you can't just find the bottom. All right, it's like a great. I mean, just check out the CNCF page for that. I mean, there is so many things that you need to learn, so many things that you need to figure out. And one thing is the installation. It looks like easy, but if you want to do a proper installation, that is really hard. What we see in our customer base is most of the problems, like, I don't know, 70% of the problems comes because the wrong installation. So what we do is we created this LinStore operator. So with LinStore operator, the installation of the LinStore into the Kubernetes infrastructure is like super, super easy. You just use the operator and everything is installed in the system by itself automatically. So we fixed the installation part, but now there is a lot more problems. For instance, the pod and the volume localization. So you need to find, you need to use some other product, or you need to develop itself. So we used Stork for that purpose. And as many of you know what Stork is, but let me explain what is it in shortly. It's like a scheduler, and it locates the data with the pod itself within the cluster, so you don't have like issues in the data processing and such. So we implement Stork, which is an open source project also from one of our competitors, which is a great, by the way. And we implemented Stork for that purpose. And another thing that we implement is the LinStore HA. All right, so this is really important part. So we see that if a worker node fails with the data in it, so what happens in the LinStore world? If you have a VMware environment, and if the VM fails, and if you're using like disaggregated storage, that's fine. The VM moves automatically. And if you are using hyperconverged infrastructure, that's also fine. The VM moves automatically into another node within a second, maybe even less than that. But in Kubernetes, that's not the case. If you're using like a default values of Kubernetes, if a pod fails with a data in a worker node, it takes up to 60 seconds to fire up that pod in another worker node. So we realized that this is like a too much for many of the cases. Like I mentioned, most of the users for Linstore Kubernetes is the finance industry. So we have to figure out this needs to be quicker. So we developed this Linstore HA component within Kubernetes. And if something happens, this Linstore HA automatically moves that pod into another worker node with a data in it because it's already replicated by the RBD below 15 seconds. So it moves automatic, and we are trying to keep, we are trying to make this 15 seconds a little bit more down to that. It's not that easy, but we are doing it as of today. So it's a great feature if you ask me. And the next one is the YAML files. Obviously, you know what YAML file is, and we are supporting YAML files. And the next one is, I need to be quick, sorry for the time constraint. And the next one is the kubectl plugin. You know, if you want to manage the Linstore from the command line, you have to jump into the machine and type like Linstore storage pool list and so on. But if you install the kubectl plugin within Linstore and Kubernetes, you can just type kubectl Linstore and so on. So you don't have to jump into the shell and use the Linstore commands from that. You can just use the kubectl plugin within Linstore. So with these 6 features, there are many, but let's mention, I just mentioned 6 of them here. With these 6 features within Linstore, we are supporting the complete container environment for the operations, for the developers, and for the application users without any issues. So the last slide that I have, so where we connect Linstore. So we are supporting Kubernetes by fully, like OpenStack fully, and OpenShift, Red Hat's OpenShift by full, and we just added our support for HashiCorp's Nomad, so you can easily use Linstore in these kind of systems like natively. And we also have a native support for OpenNebula, XCPNG, Proxmox, and Apache Cloud Stack, and so on. So we the Linstore is an open source project, and lately we announced that Linstore is now an eco project for Soda, and we are joining under the Soda Foundation. And I will paste the Linstore's GitHub link and also the website link into the chat screen very soon after this meeting. Please let me know if you have any question regarding to Linstore, or I don't know, about me, about the aquarium that I have here. Any question at all, I'm open to answer from now or later on through my email. It's up to you. And thanks for listening.
Right. Thank you so much, Linbit. Linbit. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Yusuf.
yes, Linbit.
Yusuf and Linbit. Yeah, I was just seeing the screen and I just saw linbit.com after your email ID, so I just said Linbit. But I believe there will be some questions on this. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat as before. And what we will do is, I think Yusuf has some time here for some questions.
Yeah, I have time, I guess. I try to be quick as possible to take some questions.
Okay, so just like out of curiosity, like I'll post the first question. If I'm someone who has zero experience in this line of work, storage, containers, or anything, and I want to get started with say something like Linbit or Linstore, what would be the entry point, and from where do I start?
Okay, so first you need to set up your Kubernetes environment, which can be easily found on the internet, right? How to set up your Kubernetes environment and so on. Then you have to follow the Linstore's open documentation for installing. It's on the website already. You can just follow that. Please check. Let me share. Let me also copy and paste it while we talk.
I know. So I put in a very small question, but it's a difficult one to answer because it requires. Why I ask that question is there are a lot of students present here today, and not many of them would have direct access or to the technologies that we are speaking about. So if somebody wants to even explore what Linstore is or with Linbit, then I think some sort of a base. So you said Kubernetes is one, and then please continue, Yusuf.
Okay. So I mean, there was a great animation and the course I watched once. It's from Microsoft, and the first I heard about that, I don't think I like it. All right, but my colleague said, please just follow this. This is really great, and
Okay.
it's only explaining the container world and the Kubernetes, and
Right.
it's really great. By the way, I will try to find and paste it in the chat after we talk. So I highly suggest people to jump into that education. That's free, by the way, and learn how the concept works.
Right.
After you got that, and then you will move into creating your own Kubernetes infrastructure in your machine, which is really easy.
Right.
And then you can jump into the concepts like storage management in Kubernetes, and the first thing is like, if you don't have any use case for the Kubernetes, don't spend your time on that, all right? But if you have a good use case, or if you have something in your mind, at least, just go with that. And what I see from the open source community is like a great help all the time.
Right. Right.
All the time, all right? Whenever I ask a question, whenever I post a question in open source, and I got an answer in the Slack, in email, in email lists, and so on. So a great start is to learn by yourself first, and then if you have questions more,
Right.
just ask the community. They will help you all the time, because this is how the powerful is the open source community.
Absolutely.
And we have some questions, I guess, from
Yes.
Pavan. They ask like, Limbit has a default CSI driver, or no, we have a default CSI driver. Oh, I guess I got it. Okay. We have a vendor specific CSI driver. I guess that's the question. So we used our own CSI driver in it, but I'm not a developer, so maybe I need to check this. All right, I don't know the real background of our CSI drivers. Sorry for that, Pravin. I have to check that out for you.
I think Kiran has answered that below for you.
Okay, yeah. CSI is just a specification, and storage will have a yes, yeah, obviously, yeah. All right, yeah.
Yeah, but I
Thanks,
think
Kiran.
Sharat has a question. What would be the sample use case for leveraging Linstore?
What would be the sample use case for leveraging Linstore? Okay, let me show that to you very quickly. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see your screen. Yes.
Okay, so Linstore can fit like in as a persistent volumes for containers. It can be Kubernetes, Nomad, Docker, you name it, where you need a replication, I mean the data protection, and you need a high IOPS in most cases, because Linstore is very, very fast because of the DRBD. And you can use it in virtualization environment, any kind of virtualization environment, such as OpenStack, CloudStack, OpenNebula, XCPNG, and so on. And you can also use it for transaction processing, like Oracle DB, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, and messaging queuing systems, SAP systems, and so on and so on. So we have so many cases. You know, one day when people tell me that in the company, we have like wide range of customers from top finance industries to a mining industry. So there is like a wide range of implementation of Linstore and DRBD. You name it, DRBD and Linstore will fit it, because we build that way. So it's up to you how to use this system. So this is but we only do block storage, by the way. We don't do file, we don't do object, we only do block storage. And you can also use it for analytic processing like DB2 warehouse and similar read intensive works because it has a read balancing and so on. So I hope this answers your question.
I'm pretty sure that answers the question because you've just threw up all the use cases on one screen. So thank you so much.
Yes.
And I think there are some questions about links. Yes, I think Sunil has shared. And please join the Slack channels for all these open source technologies. For Soda Foundation, you can just head on to sodafoundation.io/Slack. For OpenEBS, you can do the same, openebs.com, and they have their own Slack channels. And the community links are on the chat. You can join and start filing your questions. As Yusuf mentioned as well, self-study, yes, you can start off from there. But when you have some questions, specific questions, you ask the community, you will find at least one helpful soul, and more often than not, there are more people ready to help out. Thank you again. Thank you, Yusuf, for your time, and thank you for such a great description of Webstop.
Yep. Thanks, and thanks everyone for listening to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. With that, just a few quick announcements. We have a global conference coming up in this month. That's on the 13th and 14th of July 2021, and it's called SodaCon Global 2021 Virtual. It's our second edition of SodaCon, which last time was a huge success. For the first time, we did it at Soda Foundation, and this year we have over 5 tracks, spread out over 2 days, with over 80 plus speakers, and this is going to be conducted in 3 different languages as well. So we have English, Chinese, and Japanese tracks. So please make sure that you join the SodaCon, register. The link will be shared in the chat as well as via email. SodaCon Global 2021 happening on 13th and 14th of July. We have lots of talks, 80 plus talks, panel discussions. There are demos. There are going to be keynote sessions by people from various companies and also from top industry leaders in storage and data world. So make sure you are registered. If you've not registered, head on over to Soda Foundation website, sodafoundation.io. You will find the registration link over there. You can also take a look at the link bit.ly.com/SodaCon 2021 register, but we'll show that to you on your screens later and in the chat as well. Meanwhile, after that plug, let me just move on now to the next session, and that is going to be one of our first lightning talks for the day. And I'm just going to quickly share my screen. All right. And we spoke about container storage and CSI, how they integrate. And what we would like to do now is also show you how our own Soda CSI plug-and-play driver can work together. And there is a demo for it. So we have with us here Joseph VP, architect and Soda project maintainer from Huawei Technologies. And with him, we also have one of our community members from the end user community as well. It is Rushikesh Dapulkar. He's a trainee SDE at Click to Cloud Inc., who are also member of Soda Foundation, and he will be talking about the Ceph CSI integration with Soda. So let's start off with Joseph. Over to you, Joseph, whenever you're ready.
Yep. Thanks, Anvit. I'll share my screen.
Sure.
Yep. Good morning to all. I'm Joseph. So thanks for the introduction, Anvit. Right. So this is a small demo built upon the previous talks that we heard today morning. So here I'm showing some plug and play features of Soda CSI implementation. So as we know, CSI or container storage interface is a specification. For any storage to be used, the storage vendor needs to implement this specification or the APIs of this specification as a storage driver, and a container orchestrator like Kubernetes will use it as a volume plugin to add stateful workload, to support stateful workloads, so that container can store its state in the volume. So here, in this demo, we are using an external CSI storage driver from OpenEBS, and we are also displaying how SODA CSI driver interacts with OpenEBS LVM driver and do the provisioning and adding the support. So one question we need to understand is why we need this CSI plug and play feature in SODA. So here, what we try to solve is, normally if there are many vendors in Kubernetes, we need to configure all these vendors in to access these storage drivers. But by using SODA CSI driver, we can use one configuration and use the profile of SODA CSI driver to access different vendors. So other storage driver can be act as a plug and play. We don't need to do any configuration for them. We can just utilize them. So for the context of this demo, we need, first we will install Kubernetes and SODA projects, SODA hotspot projects. Then we will install this CSI driver of OpenEBS and deploy a sample application and provision volume through SODA external CSI provider. So I'll show the deployment. So on my right-hand side, we can see the typical CSI driver deployment in Kubernetes. So these are Kubernetes master and slave nodes. Here, there is a TP controller. TP is the third-party controller. And these dashed lines are Kubernetes components that provide CSI provisioning support. In left-hand side, we can see that these Kubernetes components are replaced with SODA CSI components. For example, provisioner. It can directly talk to Kubernetes, and it will provision volume through third-party controller without any changes to the third-party controller. So this is how call will flow. Actor will call Kubernetes API server, and when a claim for a PVC comes, SODA CSI provisioner will get the intimation. It will watch for that PVC claim, and it will interact with SODA projects to get intelligence from that SODA, and it will decide, depending on the profile, which third-party driver to use and provision using the third-party controller. So now we will go to the demo. I have a short video for that. So here we already installed Kubernetes and SODA projects. Now we are down getting the CSI provisioner from OpenEBS. This is the LVM provisioner. In this LVM provisioner, we will replace Kubernetes provisioner with SODA CSI. So only change we need to do is we will remove the Kubernetes provided CSI provisioner and use SODA provided CSI provisioner. This provisioner is available in the Git Docker Hub repository. So the driver is now added. We can see that controller and OpenEBS LVM controller and OpenEBS nodes running. Now I'll provision a sample application. Here we will provide a storage class. We need to add profile ID from Soda projects here. From profile ID, we will determine which storage driver to use. For example, here EBS, OpenEBS storage from the profile. We can use Soda APIs to list the profiles. These profiles are created from Soda dashboard. So this is the dashboard. These are the two profiles already created for supporting these backends. Currently, OpenEBS backend. So in storage class, we will replace profile ID. Now I'll deploy sample application and we can see the volume mounted. This is the code deployed for the sample application. We describe to get the volumes and volume mount directory. This can be checked going into the pod, SSHing into the so this data directory volume is provisioned through Soda CSI from OpenEBS LVM. I think that's all from my side. And with
all right, I think thank you, Joseph. I believe we will be sharing this demo video as well. But if you have any questions regarding this Soda CSI plugin play integration, you can ask us in the chat. We have shared a couple of links on how this is done, how this is implemented, and how you can integrate with the Soda installation. I believe Sushant also has shared something, and right, there are some more things shared in the chat, so you can take a look at how it is done. Kiran also shared some more YouTube videos regarding integrations and about learning how to put together these things. Right. We have with us Rushikesh from C2C. He's a trainee SDE at Click to Cloud, who is going to be talking on integrating the Ceph CSI driver with Soda. So over to you, Rushikesh, whenever you're ready.
Yes. Thank you, Avneet sir. Hello, everyone. So as Joseph sir already told the actual flow of the user, like when the user will send provision request to the API server of Kubernetes, then we have installed that drivers with the image of Soda CSI provisioner. So it will continuously watches for the PVC in the API server of Kubernetes. So when it gets the call for provisioning volume, then based on the profile, like here, when we are creating
Just a minute. Are you sharing something?
Oh, yes.
The screen not shared. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Is this screen visible?
Now it is visible, yes.
Yes, okay. So this when we are creating this profile, so based on this driver parameter that we are giving in the custom properties, so when we are selecting here Ceph backend, so what was happening, it was not getting mounted. So for Ceph, actually Ceph is a storage cluster where OSD is allowed to manage all the data flow. And so for that, we have to create one user with, basically means when we are creating user, so that user should have that allocations of privileges for that pool. So with this command, we are creating that user cube. And for OSD, we are giving rights, read write executive for the pool OSDS RBD. So while configuring hotspot project, this OSDS RBD pool is automatically created and enabled. If it is not enabled or created, so we can get it done by these commands and this RBD one. And then later on, the main thing is here is this tunable hammers. So when first time we are creating this storage cluster of Ceph, this command should be run for once when we are creating the user, so that it could see that which crush algorithm should be managed. So this is the hammer. It is the minimum required to for the OSD to provision volume and mount it to the particular pod. So this command is basically very much important. And for using the RBD feature, like we are required to for block provisioning of storage. So this RBD feature should be enabled. So when this by executing this command, basically it's going into this etc ceph config file. This RBD feature should be equals to 1. 1 means it is true, means RBD feature is true, so that we can use the block storage for provisioning volume and getting it attached to the pod. And I would like to show the secret.yaml file. So in that in this secret.yaml file, we are specifying the user ID cube. This is the same user that we have created and specified that the privileges for that pool. So this user must be there in the secret, and this only the secret YAML file, which is we are giving in the storage class. So here it is taking the user and checking whether it has the permissions for that pool, then only it is getting mounted. Before, if we don't give any privileges to that user and use directly into this secret, so what will happen, it will provision the volume, but it will not get mounted to that pod, and it will, the provisional will fail. So this was the Ceph configuration that should be done before provisioning volume of Ceph. That's from my side. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Rishikesh. This was really, really good. Rishikesh, I have one question not related to this CSI.
Yes.
You are very new to this CSI and all, right? You are a
Yes.
fresher almost, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So to all the students out there, you can just see that Rishikesh is also a fresher, and he has started working on this Ceph CSI, and he has got a very good knowledge about the Ceph and the CSI, how it works. So it's all about learning. So that's the really good thing, Rishikesh. Your contribution is very appreciable.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
And one more point, just I would like to add, the way he explained the safe and the container CSI part is really good. Means he picked up a very fast way. So thank you, Rishikesh.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hey, thanks, Rishikesh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, over to you, Anvit. Yeah.
Right, right. But it's always good to see the new members to organizations and even communities pick up technology and present. I believe that helps you grow in terms of your career as well, because this is where you put on the content. So if you're a student, you're watching this, make sure you start applying wherever there's a call for paper or call for presentations. If you get selected, well and good, then that's an example, like experience you'll always cherish. But if you don't get selected, not a problem. You keep working, you keep sharing, and make sure you get onto meetups like these. So if you have any ideas that you want to present or something which you've learned, it could be one of the technologies that you've learned from today's talk, please send in a message on Sora Foundation Slack or any of the other channels that we are, including Twitter, if for that matter, and we will schedule you on in the next meetup. With that, I would like to now invite on your screen, as I called him earlier, the Dataneer numero uno, the founder at Dataneer, Mr. Amit Chaurasia, who's going to be talking on persistent storage options with Google Cloud Run. Amit, over to you.
Sure, thank you, Anvit. And how much time do I have, Anvit?
You have your 10 minutes. Please go ahead, because we will conclude with this talk. So you have the time. No worries.
So thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll just share my screen quickly. Is it visible? The slides are visible?
Yes, we can see your slides. Yes.
Yes. So hello everyone, and I know this is lunchtime and it is very hard to hold on to your stomach. So I'll quickly finish. So we are Dataneers. We are storage and data engineering company with nearly 2 decades of experience in data storage and cloud technologies. We are partners with Google Cloud, Commvault, and HighTrust. And these are some of our offerings: storage product engineering, development, manual testing, automation, performance, integration, DevOps. We are authorized partner of Google Cloud, specifically work on Google Cloud data processing and analytics. Coming directly to Cloud Run, so basically a serverless managed compute platform that enables you to run stateless containers that are invocable through requests or events. So we have been talking about containers and Kubernetes right from the morning. Yes, containers have their own share of technical challenges when you set them up in your VM or in any of your virtual machine or instances. And when your number of VMs or the containers increase, managing them becomes a challenge. And Kubernetes is usually advised for people who have a very large setup, which is running. In fact, I was having this discussion with one of my customers, and they said, like, why not Swarm, Docker Swarm, and why Kubernetes? Because Kubernetes is usually conducive for a larger environment, for the kind of scale that it is built for. But anyways, this discussion goes on. But what if you have 3 to 4 containers or maybe 10 containers to manage, and still managing them manually becomes a nightmare. And that's where Google Cloud Run basically solves your problem, and it takes your headache away by creating a managed container platform where all you have to do is simply spawn a container, connect it to the various storages that it allows, and you have all your containers up and running, your application up and running. And the best part is that billing is not like the normal billing that we have in our virtual machine, but anytime that containers are invoked and the requests are made to that, that's when the billing happens. So, so let's look at what are the persistent storage options with Google Cloud Run. So if you create a container with Google Cloud, these are some of the options, storage options that you have, because you cannot just run stateless containers, but you need to connect them to the data source or data storage. So some of those options that we have is Firestore, which is basically a NoSQL database, just like your MongoDB, to connect your applications. If you want your application or containers to connect to the RDBMS or the relational database, you have Cloud Spanner or Cloud SQL. Depending on your size of your database that you need to have, Spanner is definitely for a very large scale. If not Spanner, then you can definitely go for MySQL or Postgres. In fact, now Cloud SQL also supports Microsoft SQL Server also. Both these are examples of RDBMS. For unstructured data like your pictures, your videos, or any random text files, you have Google Cloud Storage. Google Cloud Storage again comes in various dimensions, various offerings, depending on the kind of storage and the duration of storage that you want to store data in the storage in the cloud. You can connect your Cloud Run containers with the cloud storage. Then you have Redis, or the memory store. Basically, Redis IC is being widely used for either session caching or speeding up your IO performance for your applications. And that's where Redis becomes a very indispensable part of most applications. You can connect to your Redis server. Now, Redis also is available as a managed service in Google Cloud Platform, or it is also available in your marketplace directly from Redis Lab. So you can connect your Cloud Run containers with Redis. And the most, the fun, exciting part, or the most important part of Cloud Run is that you can connect with BigQuery, which is basically a data warehouse for analytics. So you can use BigQuery as a data warehouse, and you can also run queries, large queries, to build your dashboard applications or AI ML engines. And you can run those things, all these analytics engine, or even your data warehouse using Cloud Run containers. Data processing is another use case where Cloud Run can be a very important tool. And then finally, you have secret managers, where you can store your passwords of your various connection objects, so that you don't have to hard code your passwords. What are the storage and data benefits of using Cloud Run? As I said, host of options to choose from as per your requirements, because Google Cloud is very much endowed with a lot of product features which you can take benefit of. The size of data is not an issue, because all the storage offerings that Google Cloud offers is of production grade scalable. And of course, it is secured. Containers in data analytics, AI ML can hugely benefit from BigQuery integration. If we look at the market adoption, BigQuery is a huge hit in terms when it comes to data warehousing and analytics workloads. And that's where Cloud Run can it can really be an asset to your application architecture. And then you can also connect with other applications or other services of Google Cloud through gRPC or REST-based APIs. So I'll just quickly run through the slides of this demo of, I just put up this WordPress site on a Cloud Run, and I got it connected with MySQL server, Cloud SQL with MySQL. So what I simply did, it just needs 3 steps. You just need to create a MySQL instance and create a schema, build and deploy the container image on Cloud Build, and deploy the Cloud Run container. So these are just 5 commands that you need to run to deploy this solution. All you need to do is, in fact, first 4 to 5 commands are only about creating the MySQL setup. Like in the first command, I am creating the database. In the second command, I'm creating the user. In the first command, I'm creating the instance, the cloud instance, cloud MySQL instance. In the second, I'm creating the user. Third, I'm creating the database. In fourth, I'm creating another user. And then fifth, I'm connecting it, trying to connect or testing whether it is connecting or not. And just needs 2 commands to deploy the container. It is assuming that in between I have created the Docker file and I have my application ready. The WordPress application is ready. I just need to build the container and deploy it with just these 2 commands. So this is how simple it is to deploy a Google Cloud container. This is how it looks like. I have this Cloud Run container running named WP. If you look at it, it's successfully connected with the Google Cloud SQL. It gives you the connection string. Here also you can see that it is successfully connected with Google Cloud SQL connections. And you can also look at this site. I have posted this site on Google Cloud Run. You will be able to see the WordPress. You can try configuring, but then it won't stay for long, because I'm going to dismantle the setup. But You can just visit this cloud and you'll be able to see a WordPress page which you can create freshly. This is created on Cloud Run. Thank you for your time. This is all what I had. I am reachable for any questions on amit.chaurasia@dataneers.in. And there's my cell number, and you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Amit. I like the part where you use WordPress for the demo. I come from a WordPress background, so I enjoy seeing WordPress being used. But a question on the Cloud Run, and you showed a few things, right?
Yeah.
In terms of cost, something like you showed a list of storage options which Google Cloud Platform provides.
Yeah.
For a basic setup like what you've just shown, a WordPress site with a MySQL setup and an instance where you micro instance that you brought up.
Yeah.
A rough estimate of what could be a beginner's estimate for a costing, and then till where can it go on? Like, I know it can go a lot more, but I'm just asking for an estimate of how much does it cost to run something like this on Google Cloud?
See, so first, see, it could be around 400 to 500 rupees per month.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. The thing is, that too also on a higher side, because the billing of Cloud Run does not happen on the number of containers that you're running.
Okay.
But as you looked at the first slide, so it is invocable. So if there are no requests coming in, even though your container is running, you won't be billed.
Right.
So that's why it comes very nominal. Even less than 300, 400, and you also get some free tier. So it comes very nominal when for a normal WordPress setup. But if you, again, as you rightly said, if you scale up accordingly, there is a cost.
Yeah, so that is with respect to a basic setup. But say if you want to use it at scale,
yeah,
then what are like there are different products, not just a simple MySQL setup, obviously. In that case, on an average, what kind of a cost can you look at? Because that is something which is very important when it comes to going with the right technologies, going with the right platform as well.
Yes. So see, as I said, just running a container could be almost free of cost. Now the major billing would be, say, if you're connecting it with Cloud MySQL. So again, it is quite, it depends on the kind of database server that you're creating and the size of it, whether you're using the HDD or SSD, and and the size or the scale that which you would look at. And similarly, whether you want to use the Firestore or even the cloud storage also. Again, cloud storage buckets are they cost very nominal, and that too, they also have various tiers where you can use in the normal storage, or you can use in the cold storage, and accordingly you can tier your storage so that your cost further comes down.
Right.
Exact number depends on what kind of features or the services that you'll be using, but there are a lot of ways through which we can limit the cost using tiering. And given that we are partners with Google Cloud, so of course we do pass on some benefits to our customers than compared to the direct Google pricing.
Cool.
Yeah. So Amit, actually one point you interestingly said that about the tiering part. So do you have any document, because since we are going out of time, so do you have any document where we can follow, means on what basis the cost of that storage will be optimized and all, or any means how you are tiering the storages?
I can provide you the Google Cloud storage tiering, and accordingly how the pricing change. May I know who's the person?
This is Praveen.
Praveen, sure. So maybe I just pass it on to Ashit, and or they can forward to the whole group so they can get for the.
Sure.
We have time. We have time for a couple of questions. If anybody has any more questions, we can take them up right now. You can put them in the chat, and we can.
Okay. So Anvit, if I have a time of maybe 2 minutes, so quickly, can you glance, Amit, means how you are going to tier the storage to just have a less cost or optimized cost?
Yeah. So see, first of all, we look at what is the workload that you will be putting in, and what is the actual size of the data that you need on everyday basis or frequent basis. That we can put it into the cloud bucket, and then accordingly, what is your basically the location of your customers who will be accessing that data, and accordingly we can choose whether you want to have it regional or multi-regional, which basically increases the cost. Also, we can look at the amount of data that goes out of the network. And we can, there are ways through which we can reduce that so that we can cut down on the egress cost. So this is one part. Then we can look at the data which is basically needed, but it is not frequently required, and we can put them into either nearline or core line storage, where you are charged only when you access the data, say even once a month or even once a year. And that kind of data, it costs very less when you are storing on those kind of cloud storage. Further, you also have options for archiving the data, where say for example, you just need to migrate some data and you need it for some time, and rest of the time you won't use it, but you still need to just keep it for various reasons, for compliance or anything. And for that, there is a separate offering or separate tier in Google Cloud Storage itself, where you just pay for the time that you access the data. Rest all is just free of cost. So these are various tiers depending on the frequency at which you access the data, depending on the volume that your data goes out of the network, and accordingly we can work out the cost so that we can keep it at the minimum. One also factor that comes in is we look at your application architecture also, how you are consuming and sharing the data with your users, between your microservices or between your components, so that we can keep it within the network or within the zone. In that way also we can cut down on your costings. I hope I have put thrown some light on your question.
Yes, sure. Thank you. So please share the document so that we can go in more detail.
Absolutely.
And if any doubts, then we can have chat and all.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Hey, Amit, you can join our Slack link also so that we can get connected over there.
Absolutely, Asit, I will do that.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks again for your time, Amit. Thank you for spending time with us on this weekend. Also appreciate your thoughts in the panel discussion. And it's always good to hear from someone who's in a startup on certain technologies, because this is becoming big now, and
yes,
it's good to see that you are spending time here as well. We hope to see you more in the future in other events. And again, plugging in SodaCon, July 13th, 14th, SodaCon Global 20.
I've already registered, and for the student folks who are in this group, I'm open and available for discussion for anything. And if I really find you good and interesting, when you have that passion to learn, I can in fact take you on board. So this is what I want to just communicate.
That's great, Amit. That's great. What else we want?
So open invitation. Open invitation.
I'm passionate.
As Kiran was saying, I have an age limit.
I'm young, Amit. Age limit means I'm okay.
Sanil, what are you saying, Sanil?
You're not hearing anything.
No. Please. But thank you again. And you know what? Surprises happen throughout the event, and we keep the best surprises to the end of the event. So we gave away one voucher, but we've got, you know what? Not one, not two, not three, but we've got 4 more vouchers to give away. Yes, four vouchers. So if you are one of the 106 people who are remaining and not logged out yet, you're very lucky. Let me quickly ask you the next question on your screen. And like I said, fastest finger first. The first right answer in the chat wins. So this is for the next Amazon voucher worth 500 rupees. Let's start off with a very nice question, because this is something relevant to our institution. Also, Soda Foundation recently celebrated its 1-year anniversary. Let me know the date when Soda Foundation celebrates its anniversary. So when was Soda Foundation founded or officially launched? Oh, big answer there coming right at the top. J to everyone. It is in fact June 29, 2020. So congratulations, Jay. June 29, absolutely right. Correct answers, but fastest finger first. Jay, please do share your email address on chat. You can share direct chat as well, and we'll get back to you. So you won yourself an Amazon voucher worth rupees 500. Let me see what else do I have. Yes, coming out. Uh, okay, so we learned some many interesting topics, and we heard about some new technologies and also lots of demos. So let's just cycle back to the very first talk, and I'm just going to ask you a question from there. So there were two Linux kernel features that are used in container technologies and that are the most basic premises for most container technologies. What are these two Linux kernel features? Whoa. Okay, and the right answer this time was given by Suman. Congratulations, Suman. C groups and namespace. Absolutely right. C groups and namespace. I see correct answers coming. Everybody's typing away to glory. That is really nice. Very cool.
I think my answer is before her. Check.
No, this is on my screen. I am looking at my screen. Suman says, yes, Suman is C groups in India. Yes. And who was that? I didn't get who was that who spoke just now. Congratulations, Suman. Please message your email ID as a direct message. Jay, you too, please. You can message Ashit or you can message me, whoever you can message. Congratulations. Okay, 2 down. I've got 2 more to go. One worth 500 rupees and one worth the grand prize. So let me go to the next one. Let's make a simple one. Okay, it's a very simple one. Okay, let's see who is there. Okay. So CNCF and Soda Foundation are both independent foundations and not part of Linux Foundation. True or false? Whoa. Okay, and false. Girish Sivakumar, congratulations. It is in fact correct. Soda Foundation and CNCF are part of Linux Foundation. They are independent foundations, but they are still part of Linux Foundation. So Girish Sivakumar, congratulations. Okay then, the finale, the grand finale. We have an Amazon voucher worth 1,000 rupees. So surprise, I'm keeping it for myself. Bye everyone. Thank you very much for attending the meetup. Is that okay, Sanjay?
You can't go away from us.
Okay.
By the way, you don't have all these gift vouchers ever you announced. All the people, please contact Anvit. Ashit, let's go away.
Hey, I haven't shared my email ID anyway.
I have already logged off.
Yeah, my network is already down. All the commitments are from Anvit. Please contact Anvit. I will share his phone number also.
This is okay. So let me quickly ask a question. Now, I'm pretty sure many of you have opened tabs and kept open all the links that I was speaking about. So very good. Let's see which one is this relevant to. So what is the tagline for SodaCon Global 2021? What is the tagline for SodaCon Global 2021? Let's see who gets this one first. Remember, it's the first right answer in the chat. People are searching. Let me see. Okay, I have a right answer, but you already won something, so you are not eligible. But then who can copy and paste faster? Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to give it to Ravi just because he started typing and he's messed it up a bit, but then it is still data and storage matters, and that is absolutely the no, Girish, it is fair. You already won something. Let's not be greedy. So okay. So congratulations, Ravi. You won yourself a voucher worth 1,000 rupees. Congratulations to everybody who won prizes. And congratulations to all. You have gained knowledge on a Saturday morning. But we are very, very glad that you stuck around We have over 100 participants at the end of the session. So a big round of applause to everybody, please. And I really mean this, a big round of applause to all of you. Thank you for spending the time, and we really enjoyed having you on. Please remember SodaCon Global 2021. It's a free event. It's a global event. We have over 80 plus speakers from various organizations. We have over 5 tracks. We have dedicated tracks on different storage and data related topics. We also have tracks in Chinese and Japanese. So if you have any friends or any people who are working in companies in China or Japan, you can ask them to join, register. The website, let me just quickly share. There it is. SodaCon Global 2021, July 13 and 14, data and storage matters. We are having a free registration offer going on because we are celebrating our first year anniversary. You can still register for free, after which it will start charging you $30. But then, you know what? Go right now. Don't waste any more time. Register right away. And please do make sure that you attend SodaCon Global 2021. With that, it's been my great pleasure hosting this event. My name is Anvit KS. I believe I skipped my introduction at the beginning, but that's all right. You'll find me a lot more at all these meetups and events. And you'll find me at SodaCon Global 2021 as well. So if you want to know more about me, then please register for SodaCon Global 2021 and make yourself available. It's on July 13th and 14th. Please check the time zones. We have the schedule out as well, and the time zones are in the schedule, so you can switch over to your respective time zones to get the exact time when it is there. And with that, I believe I will come to a close on this. Thank you for sparing your time. I know it is lunchtime and you're very hungry. Sanil, over to you if you have any closing statements to make.
Hey, nothing. I think thanks to all of you. I think
all the prize winners, please share your email IDs on chat. If you've done so, please confirm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think except one, all of I think Jay. I think he might have shared with you. Maybe I don't know. Rest everybody. Yeah, Ravi. Ravi also shared. Jay has to share. I think.
Jay has
Jay
shared.
has shared. Jay has
Shared. Okay.
Suman has
Rest.
shared.
Yeah. Rest everything is yeah.
Yeah. So
Suman and Jay shared. Okay. Fine.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, and please be part of the meetup group and join the Slack. And if you want to learn and grow with open source, please feel free. You can just join Slack and say hi, and I'm interested to contribute. That's enough, and nothing else is required. It's that simple. Yeah. Thank you so much, and have a nice weekend. Enjoy.
Have a nice weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
But this is really nice to see. We've got so many participants at the end of a session. So
yes.
I'm really, really happy today.
Good job, guys.
Good job.
Hey, thanks,
Anvit.
You are part of it. You are part of it. Okay.
You are doing all the hard work, and looking forward to the next week.
Yes. I think we'll have the cloud storage 101, 102.
Yep.
102. Yeah, we'll have to send some homework also.
Yeah, right. For 101, I think we must have assignments.
Yes. Submit an assignment. It will carry 10% of your grade.
So should we stop recording now?
Yes.
Yeah, true.
Stop recording.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Right. Hey, thanks
a lot.